All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for Parasyte the Maxim, episode 10. Okay. So, the last episode we were a little bit flustered, but there's a lot that can happen this episode that can make it pretty intense.
And there was a lot of good stuff last episode.
Oh, there was, totally.
And now we just need to see what's going to happen exactly with the situation with Tachikawa.
Yeah, so we have basically Tachikawa making a gutsy move, to say the least. But
this could potentially turn out
okay.
Yeah, because
she's in trouble.
Yes. Big trouble.
Yeah, big trouble. I don't know what's going to be our Shideo's move here post encounter with Tachikawa. So maybe his longevity, future survival kind of thing will kick in, and he'll basically abandon this identity and go somewhere else, so that, you know, because he can shapeshift and what have you, it might alleviate the problems. However,
this could also just be the way that they have Shinichi get outed as a parasite.
Yes, you know, that's also a very good point.
He has to help her, right? And he's not going to kill her afterwards to keep her quiet or something.
And he's not blending in as much as he used to.
But then that could also potentially be the way that he doesn't get immediately killed or something, or attempted to be killed because, hey, he saved somebody. You know,
true. But yeah, this is gotten to that place we predicted a few episodes ago, where the government has gotten involved, and now we're about to have a direct line between Shinichi and the government.
Right. And he might not be able to save her.
Yeah. When I say direct, not meaning in like a communication kind of thing, but in a Shinichi to Tachikawa, to her brother, to the government.
Right.
Boom, just right there.
Well, and the whole school potentially, if, you know, depending on how this goes.
I mean,
oh boy.
So yeah, y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, so for anyone that's confused with the transition of why the episode reaction and all that is not in this here, make sure to check out the YouTube video, link in the description below. It's a link to the actual reaction and stuff like that. When you click that, you can watch the whole thing there, and make sure to then come back here for the discussion part.
Gotta say, Tachikawa rolled some nat 20s this episode.
Yeah, there were like 3 of them in succession,
and a timely nat 1 with the slipping. You know, or was that?
No, I think if anything, the nat 1 is on his Constitution saving throw.
Pretty much, yeah.
And holy crap! Okay, so I think it's probably some kind of like the equivalent of something as basic as like hydrogen peroxide or something.
Yeah, something or
some kind of acidic chemical that, you know, basically tears apart or cleans off. Because what I think it is she was thinking about like disguises, like a face mask of some kind, right?
Sure.
So what's like something that's, you know, like removes face paint or makeup or something like that?
Right. Yeah.
It could have been something as basic as that.
Something that you definitely wouldn't want to swallow.
And something you definitely wouldn't want to swallow, and something you probably wouldn't want put onto your raw exposed, you know, muscle tissue, and then you know, wrap itself around in.
Yeah, but it was something potent, and it was a lot of it.
It was a good chunk of it, and it was something that basically critically hit in terms of, okay, the parasites are not used to dealing with, you know, corrosive chemicals of some kind like this. And it subconsciously put the parasite's individual cells, which are the way it communicates within its own structure, you know, to itself, basically, to be in a constant state of like fight or flight.
Right.
So it's in like survival mode, so it can't transform into like safe mode. You know?
Because there was enough damage done on the inside that cut off like communication pathways and things
however
like
that works. Natural 20 from freaking Tachikawa. I love that she had the confidence, or I would say enough fear in her to be, I will jump out this window rather than take any more chances with this whole situation.
That's
now, she did climb out the window and dodge essentially the the thing that would have killed her, which was the strike
but
from
by that time it was already panicking and hurting and stuff. So so she got very lucky here.
She has seen these now though. So here's kind of the net result of this. Murano and Shinichi are going to get back together as friends, at least for starters, but the shared trauma, well, not really shared necessarily, but the trauma of Murano's experience will basically have her rely a little bit more on Shinichi as a protector.
Right, that there's points where being able to basically shut off the emotions is helpful.
Because the we'll get into the whole thing around that whole conversation he had with the little encounter he had with Murano and the two other guys. But this was a big episode, not just for the whole plot, but for Shinichi finding out the ways to channel the middle ground between human and Parasyte. And there were moments where we saw more human than Parasyte. And
which is,
that gives me hope.
He's not fully gone.
He's not even mostly gone necessarily. He's pretty split. Like it requires something terrifyingly strong in order to bring it out of him. But the idea is more that he chose to calm himself down. So it's not something that he was forced to not feel anything.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
It's because like it was a muscle he tapped into.
Right, because that's what we haven't seen from him so far. It was always something where because he was changing and he wasn't fully aware, he wasn't able to look from the outside in on himself changing. It wasn't something that he was consciously doing. It was just subconscious, and because of that, it was in situations where it was not good.
It looked unnerving to all the regular people that subconsciously bring up those emotions like on just a snap and quick, perception.
Whereas here, it's like, okay, he had that aggressive emotional response, and then it's like, wait, okay, I need to save Murano.
Breathe.
Calm down, breathe. And they've said that I was like steel. I can be like that now,
and here's the thing though. There's this aspect of it where Miggy was like, hey, calm down. Like
don't you freak out on me now.
I can't have my partner in this go failing on me. But the thing was is that Miggy, I think in some ways was kind of
understanding.
Well, not just understanding, but I think he was surprised that like, oh, you're good. You're okay. And he's like, yeah, I'm good. And he's like, okay. Like it was kind of a thing of Miggy wasn't able to force Shinichi to be okay. Like he wasn't able to use his communication connection, whatever, with Shinichi to kind of slow his heart's breathing.
Because all those little bits of Miggy
beating.
Well, but because all those little bits of Miggy are too small for Miggy to be able to communicate with them. So and oh boy, but this was gruesome. Then there were and with the two people that basically were like, no, we're not going back that way. Like, are you kidding me? Like,
how did you get through there? Are you even human?
Right, exactly. It's a great point. And like the way that they handled this episode, since originally I'm thinking like, coming into this episode, okay, it's going to be something with Tachikawa. It's going to be more of like an isolated incident that people could potentially see or hear about, and then there could be all sorts of problems there. But because Tachikawa did so well, she sent Shiryo on a crazy spree. And then okay, and then this all blows up like crazy, and the way they resolved it of Shinichi going to the roof of another building with a big old rock, being like, okay, you got this, yep. It's the bottom of the ninth, 2 outs. All right, the pitcher winds up.
I'm just hearing muda 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 muda. Just you just kept yelling to him, and here's the other thing. Here's the other thing that's genius. They don't know, but I think they're smart. The government, the people that are experts that are going to look at this. They don't know necessarily that someone else killed him, because here's the thing. No. Here's a scenario where they can go like, well, it's more likely that this thing killed itself. Now, here's how they do it.
Okay.
Parasyte thing has these little tentacles, right?
Uh-huh.
It propped itself basically up against the wall, went boom, just through its own heart, insta-kill, and it was maybe a thing of where they're like, we don't know the relationship between the control of the human versus the parasite.
Well, here's the reason why I don't think that's going to happen.
Okay, sure.
With how smart the government was with how they handled the whole situation of informing the public without informing the public.
You think there's going to be
they'll just have a basic
CSI
basic ballistics report will be like, so this was a rock of about this mass,
right? Because theoretically there should be a remnant of the rock that they can identify as being something that well it should have shattered.
Well, no, but the thing is the shards are still in there, and it will be a different material than the wall. Because even if the wall's concrete, that's different from a rock.
You're right.
You're right. And then basically they'll be like, okay, so it went through here, angle, right? It went this deep in the wall. That means it was projected this fast. It's a rock. That's not something that would have been, chucked from a machine or something. This was somehow thrown, right, at, 400 miles an hour or whatever it was, right? Yeah. And then they can basically say, okay, given this angle, it came from over there. The only thing over there is that building 1,000 feet away.
Can we get some cameras during the time?
Right, exactly. Yeah, anything like that. Like they could potentially find out Shinichi from this, but even if they don't, they'll be able to figure out what happened.
Yes.
Which gives them some insight. Which is cool because it gives them some insight that basically not all parasites are gonna go on murderous killing sprees.
Well, or another way to think about it is they'll go, one of their own basically realized that this one was going to expose them as a threat if
potentially
reveal information. It went rogue essentially,
right,
or just went crazy,
right.
And they're like, well, cutting a loss here,
right,
boom, execution.
But the thing is that introduces the concept that the parasites are not united.
They're not united.
They're not united, and that's huge.
Yes,
and that they're able to basically reason that and have reasoning that basically in the immediate sense saves human lives.
Yeah.
Right.
So in some ways, what this should lead to is eventually a point of contact between the parasites and humans.
Right.
Now, the thing that I love that they set up here, which goes out even bigger, is they went from, this little school to the country to the United States is trying to weaponize the parasites. I'm like, oh boy, what is our country doing? Here we go. I am not surprised that they're taking this angle because if smart people got involved with the idea that this is a thing, they are going to very quickly come into the, all right, how do we fight this thing? Well, we use it
against
itself.
Right. I mean, that's
lovely.
What greater weapon is there than to turn an enemy to your cause?
Yeah, but the thing is that they're probably not taking an actual parasite like Shinichi and having it be on their side. They're probably trying to bioengineer the same process.
Well, and that could also raise the idea of, did these parasites come from outer space or did they come from this planet?
Yeah.
Who knows?
We don't know.
One of the things that I think is kind of like cool, interesting here is the idea that, all right, the U.S., doing it, right? That's nothing new as a story, point of, whether you're talking about government spies or whatever,
We are the weapons people.
Right, exactly. And especially like when I think about like old like Ghibli films, it would be the it would either be like the corporate bad guys or the US sometimes specifically, or some equivalent, right?
Right.
Which makes a lot of sense given, World War II. But then also the fact that this show is based on source material that is a lot older, right? It was from the 90s or something. I can't remember exactly, but
like the 80s or something.
Yeah. But then that's further back. So then it again makes a lot of sense why this would be a common motif,
Oh yeah.
Or that this common motif is resurfacing because this is based on the older material.
I mean, in a lot of ways, that's a common thing in our media as well.
Oh, sure, yeah.
We do the same thing with having certain national governments be
Yep.
the typical bad guys or the typical sources of conflict for
Right.
things on a global
Something
scale.
that went horribly wrong, you know.
Yeah, that's why I like watching things like Doctor Who, for instance, because they always put things more in the perspective of England as being the protagonist, and it's
Yeah.
like, that's kind of fun. Like, and there's
Yeah.
there's some fun little stuff there. But anyways, back to this show. There was a ton of intense graphic violence.
This
in
was
this
so
episode.
crazy. Like,
but the thing was, it was actually like it was actually more the remains. Like it wasn't a in the moment as much violent. Like it almost felt a little censored because of how dark it was at certain parts. But like, oh my god!
And
if this is just episode 10. I keep saying that with this show. If this is just episode 5, if this is just episode 8, if this is just episode 10.
And the thing is, like,
going?
so
like, screw the school. We're done with the school, Jacob. Like,
but
like they won't have the kids going back there for at least a few weeks.
I mean, the thing is that they are going back to school, but
I know, but that could have been a time skip with
right, because this has happened twice now and fairly like quick back to back. So and the thing is, and the other thing to think about is that in a way it's kind of because of Shinichi, because he's there. The only reason they're there is because he's there. You know, so maybe he should drop out of school. Like that might be a good idea. But like with the graphicness of this episode, it didn't feel edgy. Like because it wasn't as much focusing on the blood
the
itself,
act of the violence, but more the reaction of people responding to the violence.
Right, and the horror of there's something in here and it's killing people and we can't stop it. But and Shinichi being like, I need to stop it, but at the same time, that's not in my best interest because I could get discovered. But you know, even if the cops can shoot it, right, it will stay alive for a long time.
Like, the teacher, like the gym teacher, or whoever that was, when he comes out, everyone, you have to run. Like he's just freaking out, and the kids are just like, he's actually scarier than whatever's going on in here.
Yeah.
And then you have the other girl who was the one that with him saw the bodies and stuff. He's like, everyone, once you get out of your once we've confirmed everyone's here, you need to head home as soon as possible. Yeah. And you can hear the panic in the voice.
Yep.
I think that was one of the best things about this episode was there are rarely anime that have such a good job done regarding the communication of what fear looks like in the look and the sound on a person's face and all that. It was chilling. And in fact, it was even more chilling when you'd see things like you were saying, why is Shinichi not running? Why is like the way Shinichi moved throughout it all. If someone was to have a third person perspective,
he would look like some kind of Terminator.
He would look scary.
Yep.
Because there's these what do we call it? Uncanny Valley. There's this thing called Uncanny Valley where you basically look at something and you go, this looks real, but something's off.
Right, because like 93% of communication is nonverbal, right? And you know, and or not based on what you say, right? There's tone of voice, but then there's also body language. Body language is huge.
It's all that other stuff.
Yeah. Like you know how there's the stories of like the psychics or whatever that'll do the show, and it's like, whoa, how do they do this? And it's like, well, they're really good at reading body language, right? You know, So in this situation, the body language that Shinichi is radiating out is someone that is not concerned about what's going on, like not deeply, anyways. Like he's concerned enough to go, try and do something. Right.
A courageous person is still scared.
Right, they're acting in spite of the fear. Shinichi's not scared.
Like he was.
Yeah,
and then he just went, no.
Right.
No, I'm okay. Like if anything, this is going to be something that is still really terrifying because you worry not as much for Shinichi on like how much trauma he's enduring, but more how does he deal with the subconscious trauma? Basically the idea of him absorbing data that splits his identity from being a human to being something else.
Sure.
But then because he's so good at just stifling emotions and negative thoughts surrounding the whole thing. What does that do for his conscious mind that is aware that those things are happening? Because now that he's kind of figured out how to move things from a subconscious level with regards to his emotions and stuff to being like, okay, I'm going to beat that for now,
right,
and then I'll be fine.
Well, and also I'm going to ask Murano how she's doing and everything.
Yep.
It's that because the thing is that on the one hand, he's this incredible steady Eddie that is able to basically tell Murano it's going to be okay. We're
which is exactly what she needs.
Which is exactly what she needs, right? That's what anyone would need in a situation like that. Mm-hmm. And yet, at the same time, he's able, he's able to empathize, and actually still be concerned about, her well-being. But oh boy, yeah. The part where he just jumps, right? Like. That was so
out of the
awesome.
window.
That was so awesome because it's like it needs to happen at some point, but it's still great to see. And at the same time, it's like, okay, this is something. She's so traumatized right now that it makes sense if she doesn't remember
it,
right, exactly where the
out,
details are fuzzy and she's not exactly sure what happened.
She just knows that it happened. Maybe.
She just knows that it happened, right? But not that it's like, oh yeah, we were 30 feet up or something, and you should totally be dead right now. But. Like it made me think of like UBW with like Archer and Rin.
Oh, like the whole getting the rock up on the building from far away.
Well, okay, that too.
Get wrecked, Shiro.
Yeah. But also just like the the hopping the fences and things like that, because yeah.
Like, that's like anime jumping.
No, I know. Yeah. But the thing is that in this situation, because of the horror of everything that was happening, just being able to be like, and we're just gonna go,
right?
Like that was great. I loved it.
I liked also that once he jumped the fence, his body was not exhausted, but it was like it wobbled, and gave him like a moment of, oh, we're good, like we're done. Like in some ways, it's like his bones or part of his like. Yeah, probably just his bones and stuff might have still taken a bit of blunt force trauma from the whole thing of jumping. Right. And while his muscles and everything like cushioned it to make it, land better and stuff.
Yeah, because any distance that he can jump to, that's also a distance he can fall from and land on his feet and be fine.
Right. But just that whole thing of both of those being something that actually taxed him a little bit.
Right. Yeah. And the idea that he also might have been scared too,
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Even
if he was just scared for her life.
Right. That's still being scared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when he was in the moments before that, where he wasn't running out, like before he knew that Shirio was right there around the hall.
Yep.
It was no fear. And there's a moment in the episode, where they're like, are you even human? And they do a quick flash cut to a parasite eye.
Yeah.
And what I interpreted that as is that there was a brief moment where he did the thing like he did with Mitsuo.
Oh.
It freaked him out internally that they basically called him out as being not human. And he did the accidental apex predator thing where he basically went and his eyes...
Because it was an idea of, oh, suddenly this is a threat. I'm being questioned of whether I'm human.
Yeah, but it's extremely subtle.
Right.
But the thing is, they picked it up because they're hyper paranoid, hypersensitive to any kind of impulse from anything.
Right.
And also, they have been setting up the idea that at a base level, humans are animals, and animals are very receptive to pheromones, to those little, not necessarily psychic, but those kinds of...
Well, the body language kind of things.
Body language, those signals that we send out.
Specifically with regards to the, predators, fight or flight, kind of a thing.
And they were out.
Yeah.
And the only reason why Murano, I think, didn't get that feeling was because she didn't look at him. She wasn't looking at him at the time. She was turned around and huddled in.
And
the other way.
And I feel like also because she's familiar enough with him to know that even if he's been strange lately, the fact that he's here is very much a good thing.
Yeah, but I'm talking about something that was a specific moment, not the whole event. I'm talking about that they were looking at him. He was looking at them. She was not looking at any of them. She was literally like face in her hands, like looking down at the floor. So
right. I just don't think she would have like up and run, like
Oh,
up and ran?
I think she would have. Yeah,
No?
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that her panic
Mm-hmm.
pushed her into Shinichi. But if Shinichi had showed some kind of like, something like that in a brief second, she either would have like passed out, collapsed again or something, because it seems like she was just weak. Maybe that's the thing. Her paranoia, fear, what have you, made her basically inert. Like she couldn't stand up.
Right.
Remember?
And it did for them up till that point.
Right. And for them, they were still maybe a little bit more. They still had adrenaline going through their veins with regards to like, oh God,
well, yeah,
run.
I almost feel like because like the thing with Shinichi showing up and Murano suddenly kind of collapsing is a similar thing to Shinichi kind of collapsing after he hops the fence. In that, we're okay now. And the idea that maybe she was like, Shinichi's here. He's been acting strange lately, but everything's gonna be okay now. All right, everything's gonna be okay. And then,
she first throws herself into his arms, and that's probably her moment of, okay, he embraced her. Yeah. Okay, everything's okay. Yeah. Well, he's not embracing these guys, so they're not getting the same loving, warm, tender snuggle of a strong man.
And being at least experienced with his almost uncanny level of level-headedness.
Yes. That's also true, possibly. So him showing up added to their paranoia, whereas it took away from hers.
Right.
Okay. I got you. So there's a good point there.
But yeah, the fact that it's pluck a hair, great idea, right?
Great idea.
And it's something so minimal and like easy to do, right? It's it's not like it's cut off a bit of skin or something, right?
Right. Like everyone needs to go bring in their their left earlobes,
Right. Like that. No. But then the idea that it's also something that just so happens because most of them take over the brain. Shinichi's fine.
Yeah.
Uda's fine. Like
they just won't get found out. So. Yep.
Although actually Uda, if it was a nose hair, then that could be a problem.
Well, yeah. This is crazy. So I feel like we just went through the school arc, but we're still at school. You know what I mean? This was kind of the new threat of the school arc, maybe.
Right.
But like maybe in a couple episodes they'll send the ballistics team in, and that's what it'll be. Is basically the school arc will end with Shinichi, we need you to come in. And it's a thing of
get sent to the principal's office.
Right. We have these images on camera of you being far away from the school over here during the event over there. Why weren't you with your class,
Sure, or why weren't you just going home? Like, because we still saw you there later, like you went away from the school and then came back to the school,
But imagine if it becomes a story where it's like, okay, you don't have a choice. You're going to work with us. And Miggy is like, I am pissed. I really don't like this. And basically, then it's a thing of where, Miggy, don't worry. I'm going to make my goal be about fostering a way that parasites will survive. You and I will be able to be okay. But also, like, if it comes down to it, I will fight for our survival. And do what that means. And that could be a lie. That could also be the truth. But imagine if the story went from first cour, school arc. Second cour, we're working with one of us, one of them kind of style. Psychopath heroes.
Right.
Type thing of going across the world. And
right. Because if it gets to the point where they're discovered, Miggy won't have many options. But because this is one thing that
might be good
Shinichi. But one thing that might be good to remember is that because the source material is so much older, the level of technology in this story will also be to match that. So,
I mean, if you consider it, yes, like a representation of the current day,
right?
Then yes, it probably will be.
So,
but you don't think this is set in like a future time or what have you? Like this is set in the time that it was written?
I think so.
I
think so.
Gotcha.
So hopefully there's not too much issue with cameras being everywhere and just it being that easy to just trace that you were right there on the roof kind of a thing.
Was there any point so far where people have used cell phones?
Well, what do you mean?
where people in the school have like?
I don't think so.
Okay. No, I think you're right. I don't think there have been.
Yeah.
Not a let's exchange cell phone numbers or something like that.
Right. Yeah, I don't think so. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then that's probably not going to be a plot point.
Or wait. No. Shinichi had he had a cell phone underneath his desk.
Yeah.
And Migi was surfing the web. So maybe that's.
Yeah.
But
Jacob,
okay.
There you go.
Here's the thing, though. That could be something that was added in the adaptation.
But still,
because
still,
like it's not like something that'll change like the big plot, point decisions and things that happen.
But that's a thing though. If they're throwing in the foreshadowing that maybe another country developed the parasites, that in and of itself basically lends this to being maybe more sci-fi than not.
Well, or at the very least that maybe in a similar way to Devilman Crybaby, that like. Social media and the internet was very much a big thing there, even though in the original material that stuff didn't exist.
Sure.
Right. Here, because they did that, like, this doesn't have to be a direct take from the source material.
That's true.
It can be, okay, we're maybe setting a lot of the same foundations and characters and things like that, but then we're going to take it in our own way based on how this would happen if it was today, present day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is also, like, in terms of what the content of this episode was, it feels extra chilling being an adult. But realizing in a lot of ways, like, how many kids nowadays have to think about situations in the world.
Yeah, this is like very relevant today. Yeah. Is anyone else with me on this? Like, this is very, like, disturbing on that level. It's something I didn't even really think about because in a totally grateful way, I didn't have to experience this growing up. I didn't have to experience any fear surrounding this growing up. Right.
At all. But
kids nowadays?
Oh
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I just kind of realized that as I was thinking about this whole situation. Big episode for Shinichi.
Yes.
Big stuff in some ways for Migi that they're hinting at as well.
I loved seeing Migi's thought process. That was great.
Yeah. Migi's little moment of, oh, so this is what humans are like.
Well, and also
because hold on, because it parallels, I think, with the Shinichi, calm down, you okay? But then kind of his whoa when he when he's able to calm himself down, he's like, okay, good, because I think he's basically looking at that contrast and going, oh wow, so in that moment he was able to steel himself because his goal was to protect Murano. In this moment here, this is that subtle difference basically. And maybe Migi is basically had enough time to bounce back and forth, information through the relationship between him and Shinichi, that he's like, I see something more in humans now than I did before. Is that me changing? Is that just, Shinichi being put into opportunities to prove himself as a human, to be more?
Yeah.
Or something else entirely. So
who knows?
One
of the other things that I really liked here was the part where Shinichi's basically saying, hey, we need to help stop this. Like we are partially responsible for what happened because he was here because of us. We knew that he was like this and we didn't stop him, right? And then Migi being like, so what? We're the ones that can find them, so we hunt them down and kill them. Yeah. I don't have the same, issues that humans would at, killing my own species. That's what he says
at the end of the episode, yeah.
But if you were in my position,
right,
and which is great on a bunch of levels, because on the one hand, that is a much easier way for me to be able to relate to the situation with Migi, because sometimes when Migi says things like, well, we're not that different from humans, humans kill things too. It's like, sure, but there's some big differences there. But then with something like this, it's like, well, yeah, like that's even though it's something of, hey, we need to save people, it's like,
Right.
yes, but I'm not a human.
Yeah.
I don't care about humans like you do.
Right.
And in fact, if I were to care about humans, then how much more would I care about my own people?
Right.
But then the fact that Miggy basically says that, it's kind of showing that Miggy has emotion too, even if it's in a different way, or that maybe he's starting to.
He might be starting to.
Because with the way that he basically said that, it wasn't from a standpoint of like trying to simply make there be like show a logical fallacy or something of how Shinichi was expecting something of him that he shouldn't expect from him or something.
Sure.
But it was the put yourself in my shoes.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's like like that's basically asking for Shinichi to empathize.
I mean, it's also a
part of his logic of saying,
right,
no, we're not going to do that.
It's a logical argument because maybe in some ways what he's saying is that I am going to appeal to your human emotions and ask you to basically switch, places, sympathize, empathize, or what have you.
Yeah.
But what I like that you're bringing up about this is that he is acknowledging the value of it by utilizing it in his argument. While it is entirely Shinichi's thing that he has and only he has,
right?
Maybe hasn't tried to use these arguments too much before. In fact, if anything, he kind of mocks or used to chastise Shinichi for being like, fine, I'll talk down to your level.
Right.
If anything, this felt more like, well, hey, switch perceptions here, switch perspectives, if you will.
There was this idea that Miggy understood Shinichi's perspective and was trying to get Shinichi to understand his perspective.
Yeah.
Usually, and this is what it kind of did in the beginning with stories where you have something that is non-human, and because of that, they have, they think about things very differently. It usually sort of begins and ends with just this is incomprehensible to me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, basically.
Which I don't have any particular problem with fundamentally, but it makes it a lot more interesting when there's the idea of this is something that I have to deal with, therefore I learn about it and I come to an understanding of it.
Yes.
Even if it's in a removed situation where I understand it as this thing out here. Right? But the fact that you couple that with the fact that Miggy and Shinichi are connected, right? Then that can become something else. They don't have to take it there, and how much they take it there, who knows?
Right, yeah.
But just saying.
That's good. That's good, man. All right. So, this was a hype episode. This was a horrifying episode. And it, I say it surpassed all my expectations from the previous episode.
Hands down, yes, absolutely. Yeah.
One of the most intense episodes we've had thus far. But with what they've set up, it might lead to some of the best episodes in the show. Because if this becomes a thing about measuring the worth and value of the parasites being a thing to continue within humanity as a whole, I am all up for those philosophical kind of debates and arguments and stuff like that. So y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction discussion right now, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get on early access there. You can watch full-length reactions there. And all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us about these stories, about anime in general. You can get involved with the community and talk with them about all this stuff, and also play the community events and games that are going on there. You can also talk with Jacob about his book he just published.
Yes, my sci-fi novel Battle Lines is still available for order on Amazon. The link is in the description below, so go check it out, leave a review, let people know what you think.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.